podcast episode concept. So, there is a common theme that I keep seeing when it comes to mental health and the stigma that surrounds it. It's like a layer of fog that's around the core of what people have to deal with mental health. This fog of it not being able to come clear to others, for them to see exactly the elements that people battle with. And sometimes it's disheartening. And sometimes it's fuel to the fire that I have to keep pushing, so this way it can be known. So there's like this meme, or that I have seen throughout the years, the months, and it says that if you don't know why someone is grieving for so long, or why someone's in so much pain, maybe count it as a blessing that you don't know. And it really is true. We come from a age where people have their own perceptions, and it's having your own perception is wonderful, because it brings diversity, and it makes the mundane complex, but it also hinders true understanding. So if you look to the flip side of it, it's the complexity itself. The facets, they're flawed. They're very much scared. Because the empathy factor of truly just trying to listen without your perspective it's not there as much as it's needed. I'm not saying that it's not there. People try hard, and some people hit the marker. It's incredibly hard, and I get it. It's impeccably hard for someone, if they have not gone through something, for them to be able to put themselves in the shoes of someone that has gone through something. And it's I guess it's just auto drive to try to put the pieces together, and I think that is a level of vulnerability of being able to just story tell that's not there, because you're literally going off your memories or lack thereof, and that person has to fill in the gaps of why this person did X, Y, and Z, or why this happened to that person, right? And it makes it very hard for that lines of communication if you can't see it, right? But I've noticed that there's almost, I can't say it's callous, but that ends up being the aftermath of the person that is listening compared to the speaker. That callousness, when it's being recited back to the person, a lot of times you'll hear something and it's just like, that's not even what I was thinking. It's how I walk from block A to block B, and all these things happen in between. And it's like, let's say it's like 4 variables that happen between those streets, right? A and B. And then someone comes along and says 5 or 6 things. And you're like, the other two, that's not even what was there. It was only 4 things. But in order for that person to make sense of what you said, they have to, they have to kind of piece it together for it to make sense, So it's like, I understand that some things you would never be able to understand about the person because you don't know what their reasoning was at that time. And it's kind of just letting things be the way it is. That's just the choice that person chose. And it's really hard to reason why those choices were made. Because we literally come through a first person lens a lot of the times, and we kind of put ourselves in these shoes, right, of the person, when in actuality it literally is just a movie. You have to look at it at a third person, just like it's an invisible, you're floating above this person and you're invisible and you're just watching what has happened, and you can kind of hear the thoughts of the person. But that's all it is. There is no, you can't alter the director, and it's unfortunate, but it happens. It happens quite a bit. It happens all the time. I think that we kind of come from a first person point of view, which will be the me aspect, right? The I aspect. And Robert Greene really goes into this when it comes to you automatically go into this, primitive drive, yes, but it's a me, right? So that person is just like, I seen $10 on the street and I picked it up, and then the next person I saw, I gave it to them, right? And you're thinking in your head, like, you're trying to reason why this person gave away $10, right? So you're thinking all the reasons as to why that person has done this, and they're like, oh, they probably got $1 million in the bank, they can give away $10, right? Or you're just thinking that that person is incredibly giving, and they just, they got $10 and they gave it just like that. And it's just like you're trying to make sense of why that person did what they did. And when you tend to do that as to try to make sense of why that person did that, that's when it gets complicated, and that's when where it gets skewed. Because then the person that's hearing the story, say they try to repeat back the story, is coming from out of your narrative now, right? And you can literally say, like, I seen someone, they told me they gave $10 to someone as soon as they found it. I don't know about you, but like, I'm not a millionaire. You just told a whole nother audience that this person is a millionaire and they have $10 to give. In all actuality, that person probably doesn't have 10 cents in their account, but they know what it feels like to be ultimately broke. So they gave the $10 to someone that truly, truly needed it. You never know what it is. You have no idea what the reasoning is why that person did the action until it's said, right? And it's kind of really sad that you have to really break down the hows and the whys, right? And I think if we all did that, to break it down, we'll all be like bestsellers. We would definitely be selling a lot of books, because you're going into fine detail. And I've come to this realization that it's impeccably hard to understand the mind of someone that has gone through a really, really rough life. So my life is like a cakewalk compared to someone else, and the same retrospect, their life is a cakewalk compared to me. So there's certain things that, when you're first hearing a story, not to just kind of make sense of what the actions were, or just, seeing the landmarks and just kind of judging why those landmarks are there, but just to really sit and just be with them, So this way you can understand why the person did the way they did, because sometimes if you overstep those bounds, you can create a false narrative. And some people do it on purpose, which is slander. And you don't know all the facts, and you live in a day and age where people lie. People lie. Some people have very, very bad intentions. And they can slander someone very, very easily. And technology today, and just the act of human nature in itself makes it very easy to destroy other people if somebody truly wants to do that. So you don't really know what the truths are anymore, because you're going against it, he or she said at the end of the day. And it's sad, it sucks. But I really want to get back to the innocence of not knowing all the fine details. I was going to say that it was ignorance, but I think that's a very, very harsh word, because it's so easy and natural not to adding your own perspective, or seeing it from your first person view, that I wouldn't give it that negative tone. It's more of an innocence, and it's something where, no, it's not like jealousy, but it's just like, I'm happy that you don't know what that's about. I'm happy that you don't know that life. You don't know what ultimate despair feels like, or ultimate anxiety. Some of the answers that are commonly given with anxiety is just like, oh, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And it's just like, God bless your heart. You think it's gonna get better with practice, not knowing that person has tried that, or not knowing the other steps that person is taking, right? So say someone has really bad anxiety, right? And yes, everyone does have anxiety to some degree. What makes it bad, or pretty much clinical, and I don't know all the criteria when it comes to anxiety, so don't quote me. I don't have a degree. You don't have to call me a doctor or a professor or anything like that. I'm just literally going off of my own experiences and the things that I pretty much try to research on my own. And I think that golden age is there, but it's not there as much, or it's shunned upon, because you always get the backlash of like, oh, here goes like a Renaissance philosopher, or a Renaissance psychologist. And it's just like, I wasn't even trying to be a psychologist. I literally was just telling my story. I just like psychology. And I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to learn something that is going to help you grow. Learning psychology has helped me leaps and bounds of trying to understand what happened, or why it happened. And I think I've grown quite a bit, instead of just literally not crying, but sitting and laying down in darkness every day, to the point where now I'm way more vocal about it, and I'm more open about it. And it takes incredible courage to say your story, or just even to just speak of it. It's such a taboo to speak. I've had a mental health journey, and it's hard, because it's like you kind of really want to break it down for the person of, this is what happened to me, but then you don't want to go with the backlash of, this is what happened to me. So it takes a lot of courage to be the poster child. Nobody wants to be a poster child. And I'm trying to make it more welcoming, I don't know exactly every step I'm going to be taking, because I can't tell the future. This is only God's will. I have no idea, but I know that I'm supposed to be doing this. And sometimes it takes so much out of you to battle the anxiety of it, that yes, it's very, very hard for me to do things in person. Tremendously hard. Like physically sick hard. I get physically sick. But I also get physically sick doing a Zoom meeting, doing a presentation, doing an event online, even over the phone. It can get pretty bad. And I'm trying to practice. So even if it's just like, yeah, you look like a complete idiot. And then sometimes like, yo, you aced it. So it's just like, it's neither here nor there, right? I'm not really judging myself as in, you missaid this word, or you completely forgot to mention this, or it's just is the way it is. People that don't have anxiety mess up all the time. But I have to get over the physical aspects of anxiety, and I'm trying as hard as possible to make my steps. Sometimes it's baby steps, and sometimes it's leaps and bounds. It just is what it is. But doing my own system of metrics of my growth, I'm proud of myself, and it really doesn't matter what other people, because there's going to be people in your life all the time that is going to give you their measuring stick, and it has nothing to do with you. You know exactly what was a good day for you, and you know what was a really, really bad day for you. Not everybody knows the tears that fall down behind your eyes. And yeah, it's like incredibly, sad sometimes and kind of cringy to hear. But these are the lives of a lot of people. This is the everyday life. The only reason why so in depth of this particular moment is because I'm choosing to document these things and say it in the podcast. That is the only reason why. Other than that, I try my damnedest for you not to know. The people I've known in my life over the course of a few months, few years, they have no idea what my journey was. They may have known a little bit of it, or just like skepticism, but other than that, they don't know every detail. They don't. Until now. And they're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. She was a little weird from before, but and then some people, they dislike you, and then some people, they love you. This is what it is. I've gotten to the point where it's like, yes, I care sometimes. I care quite a bit, or too much than I should. And there's some days that I literally adhere to stockism. It's just like, not every day you're going to be on the ball. And not every day everyone's going to get that click of what you're trying to say. I feel like mental health is trying to give you a synopsis, right? Or not even a synopsis, but they're trying to tell you the moral of the story, right? Trying to give you that one detail, that takeaway that you need to have after the end of this conference. And I feel like the general public literally nitpicks at, what kind of mic is that? Why did that person wear an orange shirt? Don't you know that orange is this color and it means this? Like it's like the really, really mundane idiosyncrasies that don't make any sense. Like, the moral of the story is this, and I need you to understand this. I really, really need you to understand this. I don't really care about all the little things. I really want you to understand that some things you're not going to get. Some things you're not going to be able to comprehend why this happened or why this person is this way. But you need to get the moral of the story. And pretty much, I think it comes down to just gratitude that you don't have to know that answer. It's incredibly sad that someone does know why the mockingbird sings. Like, it's incredibly sad if you know that answer. I don't wish anyone to know that answer. That's like saying, I know what it is still to have cancer. I don't want no one to know what cancer feels like. Would you want your great mama to know what cancer feels like in order for them to understand? I don't think so. But you do know cancer is very painful. You do know cancer exists. You don't have to literally be diagnosed and have it in order for you to not know what that person's going through. And sometimes the physical, it's not going to be there. Sometimes the inside is way more telling than what physical will look like. The only reason why people knew that I got that bad was because it was coming out physically. That's the only reason why. Other than that, you have never have known. Mental health we're like the ninjas of the world. It's incredibly hard unless we cannot contain it in our actions. But we can feel incredibly broken and incredibly in ultimate despair on the inside, and you would not know. I will smile in your face and I will laugh at all your jokes. And I will add my jokes in it too. And I will make you feel like you are the most wanted and loved person in the whole wide world without you knowing that I don't feel like I should be here anymore. You know? And I'm not saying like me, myself, I don't feel like being here anymore. Of course I want to be here. But those are for the people that are going through suicidal thoughts or, very close to suicide. And you'll never know. When I used to live in Staten Island, there was a family that had moved a couple of doors from us, like 2 houses down from us. And it was a pretty big family. And one of the kids that were there, he was a little boy, probably like around 11, 12. He was one of those kids that were very quiet, extremely quiet. And he just kind of stuck to himself, and you can kind of tell, like, something, like what's going on with you, what's up. But no one really had like a conversation with him. And I would say probably like 2 years down the line, we heard that he hung himself in his closet with a belt. He had to have been no more than like 12, 13. And it was like devastating for the mother. And it's wild because it was literally like a household of like 6, 7 people. And no one did anybody know that this kid was in that much distress? Why he decided to hang himself in a closet? Everyone kind of just writes it off like this is not my problem, or I don't know all the details. And I'm not sure if this kid has ever spoken to somebody and was just like, hey, I'm crying behind my eyes. I'm crying behind these eyes. I don't know if anyone truly was like, just write it off. Or, just go out and go for a walk, you'll feel better. Eat a plate of food, you'll feel better. Go play with other kids around you in your area. You'll feel better. I don't know if anybody really truly sat there and was just like, why are you crying behind your eyes? And I don't think anyone would. I wouldn't be able to. I don't know how many people would. But I know that I probably would not be able to understand what that pain was. And why he did that act. I have no idea. And I'm incredibly blessed because I don't know. A lot of people get really close to that breaking point where they don't want to be here anymore, like completely. And I'm blessed enough to know that I've never felt that. I've never felt that to do the act, or to do something that detrimental to your life. It's an incredible blessing. And it's so sad because it's just, you want to know why that happened, but then it's just like you kind of have a comfort that you don't truly know. It's a sense of gratitude that I made it out, and I know it sounds really selfish, but I feel like in order for us to be able to know how to help, you must understand your neck of the woods and then their neck of the woods, and understand the privilege that you have, because you could have been born into a very, very toxic household, or you could have met very toxic people and ultimately have to, try to destroy your life, or you destroyed your life. And by the grace of God, you were not in those circumstances. So much so that you can't even understand why something like that could happen. Take that as the ultimate blessing, that your life was a little bit easier than that little boy. Because I don't know what's worse than suicide, especially someone so young. It was really bad. It was unbearably bad that person didn't want to be there. That's a great amount of pain. It's crazy because I think I read it somewhere. I may be wrong, but I think what depression feels like, it literally feels like physical pain at some points. So imagine feeling depression, that pain of that despair of depression physically. Would you be able to make it? And if you feel like you probably would not be able to even phantom that, then be grateful that you never would know. And just have compassion and not pity, but just have compassion that somebody actually knows that answer. It's a very, very sad life. A sad moment of time when someone does know the answer of what that pain feels like. And it's something where it's just like, I just want to hug you. You don't have to even explain it. I just want to hug you. We'll just sit and just be, Some pains don't have words to it. Some pains, my pain, it's just now getting words to it. From before it, my pain was wordless. There was no words to describe my pain. And I'm happy and grateful that now I can put words to it, and the pain is not as great as it once was. I'm incredibly grateful, because I don't know how many steps ahead or steps to the left I could have been to be in that pain where that little boy was. And I think the only reason why I'm very, very susceptible to being open of that little boy is because I just know what pain feels like. I may not know the amount of pain he felt, but I do know what pain feels like. And I know pain can get very great. Greater than you can bear. So I think that's the only reason why I do what I do. I may not be successful right now at it, and that's fine, because I'm trying to get there. I'm not going to stop. I have no reason or inclination of stopping. So I'm just gonna keep going until I can do it flawlessly, and that's it. But I think it's something to kind of take, the takeaway, something to chew on, and really, really dance around with it in your brain. Sometimes it's a blessing to know that you don't know what the mockingbird sings, I guess. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of ironic because it's just like I really base it on like I was living in like this dark tunnel. Like I was living in this darkness. And it's really odd because the way that there is such a gap between people that don't suffer from mental health or have not gone through trauma, that everyone's kind of living in their own darknesses. Some things are just not as painful as others, but there is still a fog. Nothing is crystal clear until someone says all the details and they literally whisk all that fog away. And then you become a bestseller. But it is what it is. It literally is going to take that amount of vulnerability to tell your story and that vulnerability to be accepted by the listener. Because as soon as you reject them, you just may have pushed that person to being that 13-year-old kid that hung himself inside his closet. You don't know what your actions will do. You don't know how harsh your words can be. And you would not know this. God says that there is death. There's death and life in power within your tongue. So it's just like you have to be really, really careful what you say and how you say it. And sometimes it's best not to say nothing at all, and I may have commentary or whatever. I may, speak a lot. But one thing I don't do is if I'm in a mental health group, support group or whatever, I am not going to sit there and say, you're wrong for this, and da 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 da. That's their perception, and I just know right now that they're in pain. They're in pain, and if any words I can say to help that person not be that 13-year-old kid, I'm going to say it. So it's just like, you got this, I love you, you're loved, whatever it takes. Because I know what that pain feels like. I may mess up in everything else in life. Most of the time I mess up in everything else in life. But that right there, that's my baby. Because I don't want no one to know what that pain feels like. I don't want no one to be able to say, yeah, I know what that is. Because then it's just like, ooh, you've been through some shit. You've been through some shit. I don't want that person to know that story. It's actually very, very good that a lot of people don't know that story. The only problem is that we have to bridge this gap of looking at it from a me aspect and looking at it at a third person view. You literally have to listen without bias, and it's incredibly hard, and insanely hard. Because I do it too. I do it all the time. If it's people I've listened to, or speeches, or just conversations, and I'm sitting there trying to that person said X, Y, and Z. That person, and it's just like that's not even what that person was probably thinking, Toya. Stop it. You don't like when that person does that to you. Stop it. So I think all of us, I myself have to hold myself accountable to every single one of us has to get to the point where we come to a point of understanding and not say anything prematurely until you have all the facts. And if you're going to say something, don't kill the person. Give them life. And go to bed every night being grateful that you don't know why that person is in that much pain. Grief has an ugly way of coming. Grief can be extremely ugly. And it shows up in so many different ways for different people. And some people grieve longer than others. And sometimes it's just one of those type of things where somebody grieves something. The person loved that thing. The person loved something about it. People die from grief. And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. I think I'm going to tell you one last story, then I'm out of here. Because I kind of want to watch Downtown Abbey. I'm like hooked on that show. I don't know why. When I was a waitress in Staten Island, there was a very, very bubbly, happy girl. Her name was Jessie. Very sweet girl. Oh my gosh. She was one of those type of people that's just like, oh my God, you're a gem. Just very, very happy, bubbly, just social butterfly. That's when I used to be a social butterfly too at that. I think I was at my peak. My wings were like, what? Like, there. But her brother passed away. And she was like about in her 20s, or like at the time early 20s, or late teens maybe. I think it's early 20s. But her older brother was like mid 20s. He died of a freak accident. Yeah, I think it was like pneumonia. He died in his sleep, the pneumonia. And it was devastating. And the father, that was his boy. And he literally died like 2 weeks or a week late, like, very, very shortly afterwards. Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks afterwards, the father died. And the doctor was like, it's a broken heart. He died of a broken heart. He grieved his son so much that he died. So it's just like, you don't know how much pain that person's in. And it's just you can't see it. There's no system of metrics for grief. You can't put it on a scale of 1 to 10. And a lot of people put someone's grief on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's just like, okay, you should be feeling better now. Grief is a beast. Just when you think it's gone, it comes back sometimes. And you go through this vicious cycle until you're able to really finally break your barriers and just go, And I'm not saying that you're supposed to grieve forever. I'm not saying that. I'm not condoning that you're not supposed to grow, right? But I do know that everyone kind of has their time. I began my grieving process literally for I've been crying off and on for like about a year and a half, 2 years. And at first, I wasn't grieving. I was just literally in pain. Like, I didn't even know how to grieve it yet. I didn't accept it. I didn't know what the hell, it was a why me. And I had to get to the point of acceptance. And it was just like, okay, I broke a lot of barriers with that. And then now it's just like I'm grieving other things. So it's like sometimes you don't just grieve a person, right? You grieve aspects of the person. You grieve moments in time. You grieve places with that person or whatever. And it doesn't have to even be a person. It just could be something of your life. Like, I grieved when I was 5 and this happened. Then I grieved when I was 15 and this happened. Then I grieved when I was 35 and da-da-da-da. Like, you literally just go through moments and you have to you take it, you hold it, you understand for what it is. And some things are, you let it go. And then you're able to accept that it is what it is, And it's one thing out of the bucket that you don't have to, right? My bucket was extremely, you couldn't pick up my bucket. My bucket is now becoming manageable. I can pick up my bucket. I'm not saying things are not in there still. And some things are not easily able to let go, right? So I may just put it back in the bucket and revisit it until I'm able to just accept it and just let it go. And I think sometimes when you know that you have accepted something is when you can visit a place You can drive by a place and you don't break down crying anymore. You just look at it. You don't have to smile or anything like that, but you look at it and you just keep going. You remember it, but it doesn't invoke strong feeling to the point where it hinders your daily activities, And once you're able to reach that point, I think you're good, You may revisit it back, but it's not going to be as devastating as the day of. And everyone has a process. That was just my process. Everybody has a process, though. So it just is what it is. But I'm sad for Jesse's dad. It breaks my heart that Jesse's dad died of a broken heart, and it's just I count my blessings that I don't know what Jesse's dad pain felt like. That's an immense amount of pain where you die naturally. He died naturally of a broken heart. This man was healthy before. He was fine. He grieved so much that he literally didn't want to be here. He willed himself not to be here. He didn't starve himself. He didn't this. He didn't that. He didn't slit his wrist. He didn't hang himself. He literally just did not wake up anymore. He died. I wish pain didn't exist, but I do know that pain is unnecessary. It is not superfluous. My dad asked me what was the first word that I fell in love with, and I told him it was superfluous. Crazy. Learned it in high school. Teacher, Mr. DeMarco. Good teacher. I was there for literally half the class. I was there for like maybe 5 class. I cut everything else. But I do remember superfluous, which means unnecessary. But I'm happy that I don't know what that pain feels like. But then I honor that man for being strong enough to put in that good fight. That he tried to stay here as long as possible. Honor people. Be of service to people. I may not always understand everything that people go through. I may not understand what the actions are with other people. But I will be of service to you until not even until. I'll be of service to you, and hopefully I understand it. Hopefully I get it. Why the mockingbird sings. I don't know, maybe I just named the episode this. Why the cage bird sings, I think that's what it is. Why the mockingbird, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. And you understand the I can't call this an allegory, right? Analogy. I don't know. Allegory is symbolism of real life events using animal things or like objects. So is it really a allegory? Is it a analogy? I don't know. I'll research it when I have nothing. It comes up and I just let me look it up. I don't know.